The businessman dismissed the elderly black couple in his luxury store, but they returned the next day with a surprise that left everyone speechless. The clang of the doorbell announced the arrival of new customers at the sophisticated Lumiere boutique in the heart of Beverly Hills. Nathaniel Hawthorne, the 45-year-old owner, looked up from his desk at the back of the store, his sharp gaze scanning the new arrivals. An elderly black couple, dressed simply but dignifiedly, entered the luxurious space, looking out of place among the crystal showcases and the mannequins sporting designer clothes. Nathaniel frowned, his well-groomed eyebrows coming together in an expression of displeasure. He stood up, adjusting his impeccably cut Armani suit, and walked towards the visitors with deliberately slow steps. "Can I help you?" he asked, his tone as cold and cutting as a blade of ice. The lady, with her gray hair elegantly tied up in a bun, smiled kindly. "Good afternoon, sir. We're looking for a special gift for our granddaughter. She graduates from college next month." Nathaniel glanced at the gentleman's calloused hands and the lady's simple dress, making a quick mental calculation. "I'm afraid you may have entered the wrong store. Our pieces are quite exclusive." The gentleman, leaning on a polished wooden cane, didn't seem to notice the condescending tone. "Oh, don't worry about it, son. Our Jasmine deserves the best, and we've heard wonderful things about your store." Nathaniel took a deep breath, controlling his impatience. "I see. Well, perhaps you'd like to take a look at our more affordable offerings." He gestured vaguely to a corner of the store where the sale items were. The couple exchanged a glance, a silent communication passing between them. The lady nodded softly and turned to Nathaniel. "Actually, we'd like to see your best bags. Jasmine has always dreamed of having one." Nathaniel could barely contain a sigh of exasperation. He knew he was wasting precious time that he could be devoting to more promising clients. However, years of sales training prevented him from kicking the couple out in the open. "All right," he said, leading them to a display of Italian leather bags. "These are our latest pieces from the spring-summer collection. Prices start at $5,000. He watched with a mixture of satisfaction and disdain as the couple's eyes widened at the price tags. The gentleman snorted, looking uncomfortable. "Well, that's certainly special. Perhaps we could see something a little less extravagant." Nathaniel smiled, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Of course. This way, please." He guided them to a less prominent section of the store, where items from past seasons were laid out. As the couple carefully examined the bags, Nathaniel noticed a young woman entering the store. Tall, blonde, and dressed in clothes that screamed, "New money." She was exactly the kind of customer he preferred to serve. "Excuse me," he said to the elderly couple, not even bothering to hide his relief. "I'll be back in a moment." Nathaniel hurried towards the newcomer, his face turning into a warm, welcoming smile. "Welcome to Lumiere, miss. How can I help you today?" The young woman smiled back, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "I'm looking for the perfect present for my mother's birthday. Money is no object." Nathaniel's eyes sparkled at the prospect of a substantial sale. "You've come to the right place. Let me show you our most exclusive collection." As he guided the young woman into the most luxurious part of the store, Nathaniel glanced over his shoulder at the elderly couple. They were still standing there, carefully examining each item, talking quietly to each other. He shook his head slightly, deciding that he would deal with them later. For almost an hour, Nathaniel devoted himself to the young customer, showing her a variety of expensive and exclusive items. Finally, she decided on a sapphire and diamond jewelry set that cost more than many luxury cars. Satisfied with the sale, Nathaniel accompanied the young woman to the cash desk. It was then that he noticed that the elderly couple were still in the store, now approaching the counter with a modest handbag in their hands. Stifling a sigh of irritation, he turned to them after finalizing the young woman's purchase. "Have you found anything you like?" The lady smiled, her eyes shining with a light that Nathaniel couldn't decipher. "Yes, this bag will be perfect for our Jasmine. We'd like to take it, please." Nathaniel picked up the bag, checking the price. It was one of the cheapest pieces in the store, but it still cost over $1,000. He looked at the couple, one eyebrow raised in doubt. "Are you sure? This bag costs $200. The gentleman nodded, his expression serene. "Yes, we're sure. Our granddaughter deserves it." Still skeptical, Nathaniel began to process the sale. "Will it be cash or card?" The gentleman reached into the inside pocket of his worn jacket and pulled out a worn leather wallet. Nathaniel watched in disbelief as he began counting out $100 bills. "In cash, if you don't mind," said the gentleman, his voice calm and firm. Nathaniel counted the money twice, still not fully believing what he was seeing. When he was finally convinced that the amount was correct, he wrapped up the bag and handed it to the couple, along with the receipt. "Thank you for your purchase," he said mechanically, his mind still processing what had just happened. The couple smiled and took the package. As they were about to leave, the lady turned to Nathaniel. "You know, young man, sometimes appearances can be deceiving. We hope you remember that." With these enigmatic words, they left the store, leaving behind a perplexed and slightly uncomfortable Nathaniel. As he watched the couple disappear down the busy sidewalk of Rodeo Drive, Nathaniel couldn't help but feel a twinge of shame. He shook his head, trying to dispel the uncomfortable feeling. After all, he thought, it was just a blindfold. Nothing more than that. Little did Nathaniel know that this encounter was far from over. Fate had much bigger plans for him, and for the couple he had so readily judged and despised. The lesson that had begun that afternoon was just beginning, and its reverberations would echo far beyond the mirrored walls of the Lumiere. The next morning, Nathaniel Hawthorne arrived at Lumiere earlier than usual. The restlessness that had plagued him during the night had led him to seek refuge in the familiar surroundings of his luxury store. While he was organizing a new display of imported handbags, the doorbell tinkled, announcing someone's arrival. Nathaniel looked up, ready to greet the customer, but the words died in his throat. Standing there in the doorway were the elderly couple from the day before. But something was different. The transformation was subtle, but undeniable. The lady, who used to wear a simple dress, was now sporting an elegant Chanel outfit. Her gray hair was perfectly groomed and a pearl necklace adorned her neck. The gentleman, meanwhile, wore a tailored suit that screamed Savile Row, his cane replaced by a much more sophisticated version with a silver handle. "Good morning, Mr. Hawthorne," the lady greeted, her voice soft, but carrying an authority Nathaniel hadn't noticed before. "I hope we're not arriving too soon." Nathaniel blinked rapidly, trying to regain his composure. "No, not at all. Welcome back to Lumiere. How can I help you today?" The gentleman smiled, his eyes shining with a mixture of amusement and something Nathaniel couldn't decipher. "Actually, Mr. Hawthorne, we came here to help you." Confused, Nathaniel frowned. "I'm sorry, but I don't understand." The lady stepped forward, her piercing gaze fixed on Nathaniel. "Allow us to introduce ourselves properly. I'm Evelyn Rothschild, and this is my husband, Marcus Rothschild." Nathaniel's jaw dropped. The Rothschilds were legendary in the world of business and philanthropy. Their fortune was estimated in the billions, and their influence stretched across the globe. How had he not recognized them? I didn't know," Nathaniel stammered, feeling the blush creep up his neck. "Please accept my sincere apologies for my behavior yesterday. I had no idea." Marcus held up a hand, interrupting Nathaniel's apology. "We didn't come here to apologize, Mr. Hawthorne. We came for something much more important." Evelyn nodded, her gaze softening a little. "Yesterday, when we entered your store, we weren't just looking for a present for our granddaughter. We were conducting an evaluation, so to speak." Nathaniel felt a knot forming in his stomach. "An evaluation?" "Yes," Marcus confirmed. "You see, Mr. Hawthorne, we are planning a significant expansion of our investments in the luxury retail sector. Your store, Lumiere, is on our list of potential acquisitions." Nathaniel's world seemed to spin. Acquisition? The Rothschilds were interested in buying his store. Evelyn continued, her voice firm but not devoid of compassion. "Our valuation method is unconventional. We believe that a company's true character is revealed not only in its numbers, but in the way it treats all its customers, regardless of their appearance or perceived status. Nathaniel felt the weight of his actions from the day before fall on his shoulders. He had failed the test without even knowing he was being tested. Marcus, sensing Nathaniel's discomfort, offered a reassuring smile. "Don't despair just yet, Mr. Hawthorne. Yes, your initial approach left us disappointed, but we also saw potential." "Potential?" Nathaniel asked, a thread of hope in his voice. Evelyn nodded. "Your store is well run, your products are of high quality, and your staff, with the exception of yesterday, have an excellent reputation for customer service. What's missing is a broader vision, an understanding that true luxury is not just in the products, but in the experience and respect offered to each person who walks through that door." Nathaniel swallowed, Evelyn's words echoing in his mind. He had always prided himself on his store, on his ability to identify the right customers. But now, confronted with his own arrogance, he felt small and ashamed. What happens now?" he dared to ask. Marcus exchanged a glance with Evelyn before answering. "That's up to you, Mr. Hawthorne. We're willing to offer not just an acquisition, but a partnership, a chance to expand Lumiere beyond Beverly Hills, to turn it into a truly global brand." Evelyn continued. "But this offer comes with a condition. We want to see a real change in the culture of this store. An approach that values every customer, that looks beyond appearances, and recognizes the potential in every interaction." Nathaniel felt a mixture of emotions, fear, shame, but also a spark of hope and determination. I don't know what to say. This opportunity is more than I ever dreamed of, but I also see that I have a lot to learn and change." Marcus smiled, a genuine smile that reached his eyes. "Recognition is the first step, Mr. Hawthorne. The question now is, are you willing to take the next ones?" Nathaniel looked around the store, at the shiny displays and expensive products. Everything he had worked for was there, but now he saw that something crucial was missing: a soul, a purpose beyond profit. With a deep sigh, Nathaniel straightened his shoulders and looked directly at the Rothschilds. "Yes," he said, his voice firm for the first time since they had entered. "Yes, I'm willing. Not just because of the opportunity you're offering, but because I see now that it's the right thing to do." Evelyn and Marcus exchanged a look of approval. "Very well, Mr. Hawthorne," Evelyn said. "Let's discuss the details. But first, how about a tour of the store? This time, we'd like to see everything through your eyes, and maybe you can start seeing it through ours." As Nathaniel guided the Rothschilds through Lumiere, his mind was buzzing with ideas and possibilities. He knew that the road ahead would be challenging, that he would have to unlearn old habits and embrace a new philosophy. But for the first time in a long time, he felt something beyond the desire for profit. He felt purpose. The doorbell jingled again, announcing the arrival of a new customer. Nathaniel paused, looking at the Rothschilds. With an encouraging smile from them, he turned to greet the newcomer, determined to start his journey of change right then and there. In the weeks that followed the Rothschilds' surprise visit, Lumiere underwent a quiet but profound transformation. Nathaniel Hawthorne, determined to honor the commitment he had made, plunged headlong into the process of reshaping his store's culture. One sunny Saturday morning, Nathaniel arrived at Lumiere earlier than usual. He had called a meeting with the whole team before the store opened. While waiting for his employees to arrive, he couldn't help but reflect on the changes of the last few weeks. The doorbell announced the arrival of Sophia, his assistant manager. She entered with a warm smile, carrying a box of donuts from a local bakery. "Good morning, Nate," she greeted, using the nickname he had recently allowed. "I thought we could use a little sugar to start the day." Nathaniel smiled back, a gesture that still felt a little strange on his face, but increasingly natural. "Great idea, Sophia. Thanks." Gradually, the rest of the team arrived. There were familiar faces, like Carlos, the veteran salesman, and Rebecca, the visual merchandising specialist. But there were also new members, hired as part of the team's diversification initiative. When everyone was present, Nathaniel snorted, drawing the group's attention. "Good morning, everyone," he began, his voice mixing firmness and a new note of warmth. Thank you for arriving early today. I know the last few weeks have been different. Change isn't always easy, and I appreciate the way you've all adapted. He paused, looking at every face in the room. Today marks 1 month since we started our new approach. I want to hear from you. How has it been? What are you noticing? There was a moment of silence, and then Carlos, the veteran salesman, spoke up. Mr. Hawthorne. Nate, he corrected with a small smile. I must admit that I was skeptical at first. I thought that treating all customers equally, regardless of their appearance, might hurt our sales. But I'm surprised. We've seen customers returning, bringing friends. The atmosphere in the store seems lighter. Rebecca nodded in agreement. Also, our new display policy, highlighting pieces from different price ranges side by side, has generated interest. People feel more comfortable exploring the whole store, not just the sections they think suit them. Nathaniel listened attentively, making mental notes. It was encouraging to hear positive feedback, but he knew there were still challenges ahead. What about the challenges? He asked. Where can we still improve? This time, it was Aisha, one of the new hires, who spoke up. Mr. Haw. Nate, she corrected herself, still not entirely comfortable with the informality. I think we still have room to improve our approach with clients who don't speak English fluently. Perhaps we could consider offering materials in other languages. Nathaniel nodded, making a note on his pad. Excellent suggestion, Aisha. We'll work on it. The meeting continued for another hour, with ideas being exchanged and plans being made. When they finally concluded, Nathaniel felt a wave of optimism he hadn't experienced for years. As the store prepared to open, Nathaniel noticed Sophia watching the main window with a pensive expression. Something wrong, Sophia? He asked, approaching. She turned around, a twinkle in her eyes. Actually, I've had an idea. What if we did a campaign highlighting the real stories of our customers? Not just celebrities or rich people, but ordinary people who saved up to buy something special here, or who received a meaningful gift from Lumiere. Nathaniel pondered for a moment. A month ago, he would have dismissed the idea out of hand. Now he saw the potential. That could work, he said slowly. We could call it Faces of Lumiere or something. Show me a more detailed plan on Monday. Sophia's smile lit up her face. Sure, I'll work on it. The doorbell jingled, announcing the first customer of the day. Nathaniel turned around, ready to greet him, when his heart leapt. It was an elderly woman, wearing simple clothes, very similar to Evelyn Rothschild in her disguise. For a moment, Nathaniel hesitated. Was this another test? But then he realized that it didn't matter. Test or not, every customer deserved the best service. With a genuine smile, he approached the lady. Good morning, ma'am. Welcome to Lumiere. How can I help you today? The lady smiled back, her eyes sparkling. Oh dear, I'm looking for a present for my granddaughter. She graduates from college next month. Nathaniel felt déjà vu, but this time, his response was completely different. What a wonderful occasion. Congratulations to your granddaughter. I'm sure we can find something perfect to celebrate this achievement. Why don't you tell me a bit about her? As he guided the lady around the store, Nathaniel found himself genuinely interested in her story. He presented options in different price ranges, never assuming what she might or might not buy. In the end, the lady chose a modest but elegant bag. As Nathaniel carefully wrapped it, she surprised him with a comment. You know, young man, I've heard of this store before. They said it was a cold place, only for the very rich. But today, I felt really welcome. Thank you for that. Nathaniel felt a lump in his throat. Thank you, ma'am. Your visit means a lot to us. After the lady left, Nathaniel stood still for a moment, reflecting. Change was happening, slowly but surely. And for the first time in a long time, he felt genuinely proud, not just of Lumiere's financial success, but of the positive impact it was beginning to have. The day continued, bringing a diverse mix of clients. Nathaniel watched his team interact with each of them, noting with satisfaction how naturally the new policies were being implemented. As the afternoon progressed, Nathaniel found himself looking forward to the store closing, not out of tiredness, but out of excitement. He had plans for the evening. He was going to visit a small local craft store, looking for inspiration for a possible collaboration. The idea of mixing traditional Lumiere luxury with the work of local artisans intrigued him, something he would never have considered a few weeks ago. As he closed up store that evening, Nathaniel looked around, seeing the space with new eyes. Lumiere was still a luxury store, but now it was becoming something more, a place of stories, of connections, of small but significant transformations. With a smile, he turned off the lights and stepped out into the Beverly Hills night, looking forward to what the future held, not just for his business, but for himself. The Los Angeles afternoon sun cast a golden glow over the Lumiere windows as Nathaniel Hawthorne finished adjusting the new display. The Faces of Lumiere campaign, suggested by Sophia, had been a resounding success, attracting a more diverse clientele and creating a positive buzz on social media. As she stood back to admire her work, the familiar sound of the doorbell caught her attention. Turning to greet his new client, Nathaniel felt his heart skip a beat. There, standing in the doorway, was a figure he hadn't seen in years, but would recognize anywhere. "Hello, Nate," said the woman, her voice soft but firm. "Olivia?" Nathaniel barely managed to pronounce the name, a wave of conflicting emotions washing over him. Olivia Mason had been his mentor at the start of his career, the person who had introduced him to the world of luxury retail. But their relationship had ended abruptly years ago when Nathaniel, driven by ambition, had ignored her ethical advice in favor of more aggressive business practices. "Can I come in?" Olivia asked, a slight smile playing on her lips. Nathaniel nodded, unable to find words. He watched as Olivia entered the store, her experienced eyes scrutinizing every detail. "You've made some interesting changes here," she commented, stopping in front of the Faces of Lumiere campaign display. Nathaniel snorted, finally finding his voice. "Yes, we've been going through some transformations recently." Olivia turned to face him, her eyes as piercing as ever. "I heard. In fact, that's why I'm here." Before Nathaniel could respond, Sophia emerged from the back of the store. "Nate, those new local suppliers you wanted to contact." She paused, noticing the tension in the air. "Oh, sorry, I didn't realize you were with a client." "No problem," Olivia smiled warmly at Sophia. "I'm an old friend of Nathaniel's. Olivia Mason." Sophia's eyes widened with recognition. "Olivia Mason, the luxury retail legend? It's an honor to meet you." Nathaniel watched the interaction with a mixture of pride and apprehension. "Sophia, why don't you go ahead with those contacts? Olivia and I have some things to discuss." After Sophia left, a heavy silence fell over the store. Nathaniel gestured towards a pair of elegant armchairs in the corner. "Can we sit down?" Once settled, Olivia got straight to the point. "Nathaniel, I've heard rumors about the changes you've been implementing here. I must admit I was surprised." Nathaniel lowered his gaze, the shame of his past actions weighing heavily on him. "Olivia, I made a lot of mistakes. You were right about so many things, and I was foolish not to listen." Olivia tilted her head, studying him. "What's changed, Nate? The last time we spoke, you were convinced that profit was all that mattered." Nathaniel hesitated, pondering how to explain the series of events that had led him to this point. Finally, he decided on the complete truth. "A few weeks ago, I received an unusual visit," he began, recounting the meeting with the Rothschilds in disguise and the subsequent revelation. As he spoke, Nathaniel felt a weight being lifted from his shoulders, years of regret finally coming to the surface. Olivia listened intently, her face a mask of neutrality. When Nathaniel had finished, she remained silent for a long moment. "You know," she finally said, "when I heard about the changes here, I thought it was just another marketing strategy. But listening to you now, I see that it's deeper than that." Nathaniel nodded, feeling vulnerable in a way he hadn't experienced for years. "I understand if it's too late to fix things between us, Olivia, but I want you to know that your lessons weren't in vain. It just took me too long to learn them." A small smile appeared on Olivia's lips. "It's never too late to do the right thing, Nate. It's a lesson we're all still learning." She stood up, walking over to the Faces of Lumiere display. "These stories, are they real?" "Every single one of them," Nathaniel confirmed, joining her. "We've discovered that every customer has a story, and every purchase has a meaning. We're just beginning to learn how to honor that." Olivia turned to him, her eyes shining with something that looked like pride. "You know, Nate, when you were my apprentice, I always knew you had the potential for great things. But this," she gestured around the store, "this exceeds my expectations." Nathaniel felt a lump in his throat. "It means a lot to hear that from you, Olivia." "Well," she said, straightening her shoulders, "I think I have a few ideas that might help with this new direction of yours. That is, if you're interested in listening to your old mentor again." Nathaniel's face lit up with a genuine smile. "Nothing would make me happier." Over the next few hours, Nathaniel and Olivia immersed themselves in a lively discussion about the future of Lumiere. Ideas flowed freely, plans were sketched out, and a long-lost partnership was renewed. As night fell and the neon lights of Beverly Hills began to flicker outside, Nathaniel found himself reflecting on the surprising day. Olivia's unexpected visit had not only brought back a valuable mentor, but had also served as a powerful reminder of her journey. As he closed up store, with plans to meet Olivia for breakfast the next day, Nathaniel couldn't help but smile. Lumiere was transforming, yes, but he now realized that the biggest transformation was taking place within himself. With one last look at the store that had once represented only profit and status, but was now becoming a symbol of change and connection, Nathaniel headed out into the Los Angeles night. The road ahead was still long, but for the first time in years, he felt truly on track. Fall had arrived in Beverly Hills, bringing with it a cool breeze and the promise of change. Nathaniel Hawthorne adjusted his tie as he entered the Lumiere, his heart pounding with a mixture of anxiety and anticipation. Today was no ordinary day. The Rothschilds were returning for their final assessment. In the months since her last visit, Lumiere had undergone a remarkable transformation. The store now displayed a harmonious blend of traditional luxury items and local handicrafts. The walls were adorned with inspiring stories from the Faces of Lumiere campaign, and the welcoming atmosphere made customers from all backgrounds feel welcome. Sophia was waiting for him at the entrance, her face a mixture of nervousness and excitement. "Everything's ready, Nate. The team is in place and we've gone over all the new procedures," Nathaniel nodded, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "Thank you, Sophia. Remember, today isn't about impressing the Rothschilds. It's about showing who we've really become." As they prepared to open, Nathaniel couldn't help but reflect on their journey. The renewed partnership with Olivia had brought a new perspective to the business. And the changes implemented had not only increased sales, but also created a sense of purpose among the team. The doorbell jingled, and Nathaniel turned around, expecting to see Evelyn and Marcus Rothschild. To his surprise, it was a young woman who entered, looking a little lost and uncomfortable. "Welcome to Lumiere," Nathaniel greeted her warmly. "Can I help you with something?" The woman hesitated. I'm not sure I'm in the right place. I'm looking for a present for my mother, but everything here seems so expensive." Nathaniel smiled gently. "Sometimes the value of a gift isn't in the price, but in the meaning. Why don't you tell me a bit about your mother?" Over the next few minutes, Nathaniel listened attentively as the young woman, Sarah, talked about her mother, a strong woman who had raised 3 children on her own, worked 2 jobs, and still found time to volunteer in the community. "You know," Nathaniel said, guiding Sarah into a section of the store, "we have a special collection that I think your mom will love." He showed her a line of handmade jewelry, each piece accompanied by a story about its creation and meaning. Sarah was enchanted by a delicate silver bracelet. "It's perfect," she whispered, "but I can't—" "This bracelet," Nathaniel explained, "was created by a local artisan who is also a solo mother. Every sale helps support her family and her dream." He paused. "And today, it's on special discount." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "Really, I can afford it. My mom will love it, especially knowing the story behind it." As Nathaniel carefully wrapped the bracelet, the doorbell rang again. This time, it was Evelyn and Marcus Rothschild who entered, dressed elegantly but discreetly. Nathaniel felt a moment of panic. He was in the middle of a sale. He couldn't just abandon Sarah. But then he remembered his own words to Sophia. This wasn't about impressing. It was about being authentic. "Messrs. Rothschild," he greeted with a nod. "Welcome. Please feel free to explore the store. I'll be with you in a moment." Turning his attention to Sarah, Nathaniel finished the sale with the same care and attention he would have given to any high-profile customer. When she left, overjoyed with her purchase, he finally turned to the Rothschilds. "I apologize for keeping you waiting," he said. Evelyn smiled, a gleam of approval in her eyes. "There's no need for apologies, Mr. Hawthorne. In fact, it was refreshing to see you prioritizing a customer's experience over other considerations." Marcus nodded in agreement. "Tell us, Mr. Hawthorne, how has this journey of transformation been?" Nathaniel took a deep breath, feeling the weight and importance of the moment. "It's been challenging," he admitted, "but incredibly rewarding. I realize that true luxury is not just in the products we sell, but in the experience we provide, in the connections we create." He guided them around the store, showing them the changes, from the new product layout to the wall dedicated to customer stories. He talked about the partnership with local artisans, about the training programs for staff focused on empathy and personalized service. But most importantly, Nathaniel concluded, "We've learned to see each person who walks through the door not just as a potential customer, but as an individual with a unique story." Evelyn and Marcus exchanged a meaningful look. "Mr. Hawthorne," Evelyn began, "when we challenged you months ago, we had hopes but also doubts. Today, we see a transformation that has exceeded our expectations." Marcus continued, "Lumiere is no longer just a luxury store. It has become an example of how business can be conducted with integrity, empathy, and purpose." Nathaniel felt a lump in his throat. "Thank you," he said simply. "That means a lot." "Well," Evelyn smiled, "I think it's time we discuss the next steps. How about lunch tomorrow to finalize the details of our partnership?" As the Rothschilds left, promising to return the next day, Nathaniel found himself surrounded by his team. Sophia was the first to speak. "So, how did it go?" Nathaniel looked at the eager faces around him, people who had embarked on this journey with him, who had embraced the change and grown along with the store. "It was perfect," he said, a genuine smile lighting up his face. "But not because of the Rothschilds. It was perfect because, for the first time, I feel like we're really living the values we profess." That evening, after the store closed, Nathaniel stayed behind, soaking up the silence. He walked through the aisles, gently touching the products, remembering the stories behind each piece. Stopping in front of the entrance mirror, Nathaniel saw his reflection, the same face, but with kinder eyes, a more genuine smile. Lumiere had changed, yes, but the biggest transformation had taken place within him. With one last look at the store that was now much more than a business, it was a legacy, a community. Nathaniel turned off the lights and stepped out into the Beverly Hills night. The future, with all its challenges and opportunities, awaited. And for the first time in a long time, he was truly looking forward to facing it. The morning sun illuminated the streets of Beverly Hills as Nathaniel Hawthorne stepped out of his apartment, tucking his briefcase under his arm. Today was the day that the partnership with the Rothschilds would be officially finalized, marking the beginning of a new chapter for Lumiere. As he walked towards the restaurant where the meeting was to take place, Nathaniel reflected on the whirlwind of events over the last few months. The transformation of Lumiere had been more than a business change. It had been a personal revolution that had touched every aspect of his life. As Nathaniel turned the corner, he almost bumped into a familiar figure. "Nate!" exclaimed Olivia, his former mentor and now renewed business partner. "I was just on my way to meet you." Nathaniel smiled, genuinely happy to see her. "Olivia, I didn't know you were coming today." She shrugged. a mischievous glint in her eyes. "I thought you could use a bit of moral support. Besides," she added with a smile, "I couldn't miss the opportunity to see the great Nathaniel Hawthorne close the deal of his life." Together, they entered the elegant restaurant where Evelyn and Marcus Rothschild were already waiting for them. Introductions were made, and soon the four of them were immersed in a lively conversation about the future of Lumiere. "So, Mr. Hawthorne," Marcus began, after the requests had been made, "tell us more about your vision for the expansion of Lumiere." Nathaniel exchanged a quick glance with Olivia before answering. "Well, after much thought and discussion with my team, I believe the next step is not necessarily to open more stores, but to deepen our impact." Evelyn leaned in, intrigued. "Go on." "You see," Nathaniel elaborated, "Lumiere has always been about luxury, but we've redefined what that means. Now, we want to take that new definition beyond the walls of our store." He opened his briefcase, pulling out some documents. "We propose to start the Lumiere Foundation, a program that will support local artisans by offering training, resources, and a platform to exhibit and sell their work." Olivia continued, "In addition, we want to establish a mentoring program for young entrepreneurs in the retail sector, sharing the lessons we've learned about business ethics and human-centered customer service." The Rothschilds listened attentively, exchanging occasional glances with each other. When Nathaniel and Olivia finished their presentation, there was a moment of tense silence. Finally, Evelyn spoke. "Mr. Hawthorne, when we challenged you months ago, we expected to see changes in the way you conducted your business. But this," she paused, a smile forming on her lips, "this exceeds all our expectations." Marcus nodded in agreement. "You're not just thinking of expanding a business, you're proposing to create a movement." Nathaniel felt relief flood his body. "That's exactly it. Lumiere can't just be about selling luxury products. It has to be about redefining what luxury means in a world that desperately needs more empathy and connection." The lunch continued with lively discussions about the details of the plan. The Rothschilds not only endorsed Nathaniel's vision, but also offered to increase their investment to ensure that the Lumiere Foundation had the resources it needed to thrive. As the meal drew to a close and the contracts were signed, Nathaniel found himself overwhelmed by an emotion he couldn't fully name. It was a mixture of pride, gratitude, and, above all, a renewed sense of purpose. As they left the restaurant, Olivia put a hand on his shoulder. "You've done something extraordinary here, Nate. I'm proud of you." Nathaniel smiled, unshed tears shining in his eyes. "I couldn't have done it without you, Olivia. Your guidance, even when I was too stubborn to listen, brought me this far." They walked together back to Lumiere, where the staff were eagerly awaiting the news. Upon entering the store, Nathaniel was greeted by expectant faces and nervous smiles. Sophia was the first to speak. "So, boss, how was it?" Nathaniel looked at each face. People who had embarked on this journey with him, who had believed in the vision of a different Lumiere. He felt a wave of affection for each of them. "Guys," he began, his voice charged with emotion, "not only have we closed the deal, but we're about to start something much bigger than we ever imagined." Over the next few minutes, Nathaniel shared the details of the deal and the plans for the Lumiere Foundation. The excitement in the room was palpable, with team members already starting to suggest ideas for the mentoring program and partnerships with local artisans. As the impromptu celebration unfolded around them, Nathaniel stepped away for a moment, walking to the front window. Outside, Beverly Hills continued its frenetic pace, people rushing past without noticing the small revolution taking place inside Lumiere. He thought about his journey, from the ambitious young man focused only on profit to the man he was now, determined to use his success to make a difference. Lumiere had transformed from a simple luxury store into a beacon of change and purpose. Nathaniel knew that the road ahead would not be easy. Turning a vision into reality never is. But looking at his team, at Olivia, and thinking of the Rothschilds and everyone else who believed in this new direction, he felt ready for the challenge. The doorbell tinkled, announcing the arrival of a client. Nathaniel turned around, a genuine smile lighting up his face. It was time to get back to work, to continue building this new dream, one interaction at a time. As he walked over to greet the newcomer, Nathaniel felt a deep certainty settle in his heart. Lumiere's real journey was just beginning, and he couldn't wait to see where it would take them. A year had passed since the signing of the agreement with the Rothschilds and the launch of the Lumiere Foundation. The fall sun bathed Beverly Hills in a soft golden glow as Nathaniel Hawthorne walked towards Lumiere, his stride light and determined. The store's facade, once a monument to exclusive luxury, now displayed a harmonious blend of elegance and accessibility. The windows not only displayed expensive items, but told stories of local artisans, of customers whose lives had been touched, of a community in transformation. Upon entering, Nathaniel was greeted by the familiar ringing of the bell and Sophia's warm smile. "Good morning, Nate," she greeted, handing him a cup of coffee. "Ready for the big day?" Nathaniel nodded, taking a sip of the hot drink. More than ready. It's hard to believe we've come this far. Today was the day of the official opening of the Lumiere Foundation's first training center, a space dedicated to training young entrepreneurs and local artisans. It was the culmination of months of hard work, meticulous planning, and, above all, a shared vision of a better future. As he wandered around the store, Nathaniel noticed the small changes that, taken together, had completely transformed the space. Each item for sale was now accompanied by a story, the craftsman who had created it, the impact its purchase would have on the community. Prices ranged from affordable to luxurious, but the treatment given to each customer remained consistently respectful and attentive. The office at the back of the store, once their solitary refuge, was now buzzing with the energy of a diverse team. Olivia was there, discussing the last details of the event with a group of young interns, her face lit up by their enthusiasm. "Ah, Nate," she exclaimed at the sight of him. "Come and meet our newest class of apprentices. They have some brilliant ideas for the next quarter." Nathaniel spent the next hour immersed in a lively discussion with the youngsters, marveling at their passion and creativity. It was a vivid reminder of why they had embarked on this journey.
Did this narrative stir your emotions? Don't forget to express your approval with a like. Take advantage of the Super Thanks feature, available just below the video, to offer direct support to the channel and contribute to the production of more fascinating content. Subscribe and remember to activate the bell to stay up to date with all the latest updates. And attention, a new exciting story is already ready to be displayed on your screen. Your participation means a lot to me, and I hope to count on your presence soon. Thank you very much for dedicating your time to this video.